I want to talk to you about making a video in a low light without having to spend any money. Coming up. Welcome back to yet another Jinius day, all about sharing what I learned as I make my videos. I just borrowed a penny board from one of my friends and I thought I'd try it out. It's been like only 2 hours since I'm writing and I have to tell you, it is really difficult. The reason I want to talk to you about shooting in low light is a couple of weeks ago when I was traveling Thailand, I visited this bar which was dark. Let me take a sit and do this again. Alright. And given that the situation in a bar at night was pretty dark, but my video kinda turned out to be okay, I was quite happy with how it turned out. So let me just show you and I'm gonna share the tips that I've learned making that video. So yeah, here's the video, take a look. The first tip that I want to share is to shoot it in a lower frame rate, such as 24 or 30 frames per second. To explain the reason behind it, you have to understand how shutter speed and frame rate is related. You have to fix your shutter speed according to your frame rate, more specifically twice faster than your frame rate. And with higher shutter speed comes the darker image. Since shutter speed is correlated to frame rates, by dropping down your frame rate, you're using slower shutter speed, which means you'll get brighter image, therefore better in a lower light performance. And my battery is dying. I guess I gotta go in.
3 days later.
Today is actually a different day, but I'm gonna start finishing my episode. So with that, the second tip that I wanted to share is to use a prime lens. And what's a prime lens? Is this guy. And there are a few benefits of using prime lens, but main reason that you may want to use a prime lens is because it has fixed focal length. They have wider aperture, and with wider aperture your image gets brighter and more depth of field. So in the case of low light situation like I was in, prime lens was really suitable to make my image brighter and also make it a little bit more cinematic. And another benefit of using prime lens is since it has fixed focal length, it forces you to move around your venue and look for different spots to film instead of zooming in and out in the same spot, so you can find more creative angles. So second tip is to use a prime lens. Now that we talked about how to set up your camera, now we have to talk about what are the things that we can use in dark space that doesn't cost you any money. The first thing that came up to my mind was my smartphone, which everyone carries these days. It has an LED light at the back, and also your screen LED light can be really bright depending on how dark the environment is. So then I would direct these lights to my subject and start shooting. That's the tip number 3, is to use the LED light in your phone, both in your camera and your screen. I wanted to come down here and make a video, but it's a terrible idea because the noise is really loud. Guess I'll find somewhere else.
A few moments later.
On my way back right now, there are way too many bikers in the park, and I didn't want to like draw too much attention, let alone vlogging itself. And because I'm trying to vlog in English, everyone kind of just like stare at me, and I'm really shy. So meanwhile, because I stopped by, I thought I'll talk about the fourth point of this video, which is to focus on your subject. And what I mean by that is, even if you have like a little LED in your phone in a dark place, the small LED is not going to be enough to brighten up your whole scene. So what I did is to focus on my subject. So if it's like a face of someone, I will put that person closer to my phone, which is the light source in this case, or I'll ask them to sit closer to the candlelight. And there's a car coming.
Day 3.
Well, this episode is actually taking me some time to finish it, but I'm gonna finish it today and awkward. So tip number 5 has to do with color grading, and I want to point out all the 4 steps that I talked about earlier is going to impact this last step. And since you're dealing with darker environment, boosting up your exposure in post will create enormous noise. Therefore, following the 4 step has helped you out, focusing on your subject and focusing on the mid-tone area so you can separate the mid-tone and the low tone or low light in this case when it comes to post-production. So my point in tip number 5 when it comes to color grading your darker footage is to focus on your mid-tone. But I guess the most important point that I want to share today with you is to shoot in any environment, whether it's too dark or too bright, because having the little bit of final noise in your video will help your story if your story is strong. This is all I have to say for today. Hopefully this was helpful, and if you liked it, don't forget to subscribe because I'm excited to talk about the topics I have yet to talk to you about. Until next time, bye! Well, I've never rode a skateboard before, but I do have to say one of the problems with riding a skateboard is like you constantly have to kick the floor to go forward. Since we're dealing with darker environment, you wanna, and since you're awkward.